Wow! It's 2 minutes to late night!
What's up, Burger King Apple Dippers? Welcome to Pod Minutes to Cast Night, the 2 Minutes to Late Night podcast, where we listen to bad albums and try to find good things about them. It doesn't always work. You're with the 2 Minutes to Late Night Writers Room?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Hammond, and apparently I'm good at Twitter now.
I'm Lucy Steiner, and some of my dresses have pockets.
I am 1994 third place bar category Brownies Bake Off winner Katie Rose Leon.
You have so many championships.
I am a winner.
I want to see your trophy room. I'm Jordan Olds, and I own a really expensive Donatello Ninja Turtle action figure because someone said I looked like Corey Feldman once.
Was that an insult?
I don't know.
It had to be.
I don't...
When I said once, I mean always, all of the time, most of the time.
Do you have a bunch of brainwashed, beautiful women dressed as angels here to serve us treats?
No, but I have treats.
I do love treats.
I will say that the first thing I noticed about the band name Morbid Angel is that it sounded like a screen name that you'd see on a pro anorexia website for it.
Yeah. That's right, folks. This week, we're finally doing it because a lot of people really wanted us to do it. It's on all of the bad metal album lists. And
it's been in the comments section of every episode of this podcast that we've done so far.
Ever.
Somebody has said, do
Morbid Angel, Illud Divinum Insanus.
The title of this album sounds like something they'd scream in Harry Potter, which is apt because I have never read Harry Potter.
I have never read Harry Potter. I just watched all, 9 of them? There are 9?
I've never read Harry Potter, but I've boned a lot of people with secret Harry Potter tattoos.
That makes sense. That is very apt. In your Powerpuff Girls mixture, boning people with Harry Potter tattoos is one of the ingredients.
No, secret Harry Potter tattoos.
Oh, fair enough.
I find about them post.
So it's so in the Powerpuff Girls context, we're like we have Professor Utonium is pouring some Fight Club posters into a pot, some fist-sized e-cigarettes, a single katana.
Oh God!
Wait, are you making Katie's lovers or
yes,
Katie?
Yeah, Katie's lovers, and then the secret ingredient to the concoction is a tattoo of the snake thing that the Death Eaters get.
Oh my
God! I don't know that much.
Yep. I don't know
It's
that
always
much
that
either,
tattoo.
except I actively made fun of Harry Potter tattoos as someone who had that, and they're like, that's what this is.
See, here's the thing is that nobody has another Harry Potter tattoo. That's the one Harry Potter
No, they have
tattoo.
that ugly triangle.
The necklace thing at the end.
Okay.
I now know this stuff. I have gone my whole life not knowing any Harry Potter stuff until December. And then I finally saw all of them. And I can safely say that I would safely bet $40 that every song on this album has like a fan cut video of Harry Potter footage.
Dude, 100%. I'm glad we brought that back around.
Dude,
Yeah.
no spoilers.
Can we?
Well, wait. So before we jump into the album, did we have Lucy listen to Limp Bizkit?
I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary either.
You've heard Rollin'.
Yeah, you knew Limp.
yeah.
You knew Limp Bizkit beforehand, we didn't need to do it.
Yeah, no, that's a major cultural touchstone of people our age. You had to have, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
that's
we
fine.
need to do? In
I
addition,
ran across them. I ran across their fans on the aqueduct. They tried to make me smoke.
But no, I think the one band on this podcast that we didn't have you listen to because we skipped it to do P-Cells, just the song, is you need to listen to Appetite for Destruction era Guns N' Roses. We're gonna do this.
That's right, yeah.
So that's right. Next week, folks, you're getting Lucy's thoughts on Guns N' Roses and 1989 Morbid Angel, I guess.
Wow. Lucy's going to show back up. She's going to be like in a studded leather jacket. She's going to insist that we call her Trish.
It's either going to be that or she's going to show back up with a gun. Kill us.
I don't think the gun thing's gonna happen,
No,
but I
man.
do think that this is just gonna turn Lucy into someone who just plays video games on the computer and gets into cosplay. Yeah. I think that's gonna happen. Like Lucy is gonna want to go to New York Comic Con as Samus or some shit.
I do have to say that this Morbid Angel album, the way it sounds is the way before we started doing this podcast and you guys started introducing me to metal music. This is what I thought all metal sounded like. This
Really?
is what I thought this was all metal.
I was going to say that this is in my opinion, the first what I would call let me start that thought over.
Okay.
When I first started thinking of metal when I was young, I wouldn't even think in my mind when I was like a teenager that like Guns N' Roses was considered metal and stuff like that. I know now.
Oh, it isn't.
I know it's like, but that's like this is the kinds of bands I'm excited that we're finally doing what I would consider like a quintessential like truly brutal metal band.
Yeah. Well, they are.
This is already. I can already tell that there are some nerds out there just raging at that idea.
Well, no, you're right. Morbid Angel.
I guess I'm struggling for the words here. We haven't done a death metal band.
Like, here's the thing. We're doing like what a modern DJ thinks is metal on this podcast. Like which means just any music with guitar in it, pretty much. If it was played, if you recorded it with a Marshall stack, you fucking can be on this podcast. But no, we are finally doing a real metal. Like Morbid Angel is considered the first popular death metal band. Like the first death metal band is Death. Like is Chuck? What I can never pronounce is Chuck Schnitzelberg, whatever his last name is. Death, scream, bloody gore. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I've never known how to pronounce his last name, but he took thrash metal, which is my favorite metal. I love thrash metal the most. I think it's the most fun.
Same. Yeah.
I think it's technical. And then Chuck started his band Death, and then made it death metal with the guttural screams and making it a little faster and more technical. And then it just turned into just music that just sounds like it has burps. And just that you pushed all the instruments over a mountain. All of this shit came out of except for like most death metal comes from Florida, which is the weirdest thing. Like Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel. Morbid Angel is the first death metal band to break through to the mainstream via like Beavis and Butthead or some shit.
Okay, wait. Before we move on, I wanted to bring this up because their big first like mainstream pop was from Beavis and Butthead, which I found really funny to learn on their Wikipedia page. Because my first thought reading the title of this album was they said anus.
That's very funny. They've been on. I think they've been on. They probably have been on the most episodes of Beavis and Butthead. I think them and Pantera. Do you like how I pronounced that? Pantera.
Yeah, it's like Panera bread.
Pinterest.
Yeah, it's funny they're from Tampa. Cause this is the first time I Googled something before the podcast.
No, you can't.
Yeah, and because when I was listening to them, there were parts where I was like, are they British or are they like fake British?
Yeah,
it's
fake
like
British.
they had weird British accents, and then
Super
I
fake
looked them up and
British.
it's like Tampa, Florida originally.
Yeah, they're.
But it's like, what is that? Like a half British accent is like the
A
transatlantic
Florida
accent.
panhandle.
I didn't even think British. I wrote down that they just seem like nondescriptly European. Like they could be from any part of like northern Europe.
When you get to a certain grandiosity in metal, that just happens. Like I have mentioned many times on this show that my uncle is a studio drummer for a lot of hair metal bands, and
Yeah.
they all just look vaguely European after a while.
We gotta get him in the studio. Also, you're right, because like Steve Brodsky's been in the heavy music biz for a couple of
Centuries.
couple of fucking centuries, and now on stage he just screams in a British accent, "Welcome, mutants! Hello." Fish and chips. It's great. He's British on stage, and it's my favorite.
But I think that this goes further than The Voice, right? Because like also this album, because it like experimented with like the industrial sound and these electric drums and whatever, it kind of starts to get that feeling of like a singer who would come out and be like, "What's up, you American cheeseburgers?
No.
You like Satan?"
Well, that is obviously why people don't like this album. I think we got to start there.
Yeah.
I think we got to start with what Morbid Angel was, which was just, to be honest with you, I'm not excited about, I don't get excited about a lot of death metal.
Same.
There are bands that do it that I love. Like, I think one of my favorite bands on the planet is Cattle Decapitation, because they are super fucking interesting. They're one of the rare bands that are death metal, but everything that they do is interesting to listen to. After some death metal I listen to, and it's just pounding and thumping, and I have no idea. It just it's like listening to your neighbors have sex, and you're like, I'm glad you guys are having a good time, but I'm trying to watch Parks and Rec for the 7th time.
Do any of you guys have a personal relationship with this band at all, or because like I have a little bit of a history with it.
Go for it.
So when I was in high school, I had this friend, Casey, who was super metal, and like all her friends would go do donuts in the parking lot and shit.
Sick.
Yeah,
Sick.
and they would call me emo because I didn't listen, because I didn't look like them.
Okay.
I didn't have I had pink hair and shit. And once a month they would pull up to my house and like kidnap me to go on their metal like kid adventures, and that was like my role in their friend group. And Morbid Angel was like a band that I liked that she likes, so that was like our like, we became friends in middle school, we got a little strange, now we're back together.
That's cool. That's cool that you guys started with Morbid Angel, because I feel like a lot of people from our generation, their death metal started with, get ready for it, scene kids, Job for a Cowboy. Do you remember? Like that's when kids in my town got into death metal, was because of that band Job for a Cowboy, because they were
I don't know.
I think that's
You don't know
regional.
who Job for a Cowboy was like the first band to get like internet joke famous for. They were a scene band that just jokingly wrote a death metal album, and
Are you
they got
sure?
famous because
I don't mean to cut you off, I'm gonna let you finish, but are you sure that's not just a Colorado thing? Because me and Jeremy have both never heard of that.
you've never heard of Job.
No, I've never.
You never
I've
watched the SpongeBob YouTube video where he's just screaming death metal?
No.
I remember them as the band that brought the like Converge sound into death metal. Like that's where you got your Bring Me the Horizons, and you got all of this new way. Like we thought it was like an inside joke. This shit was fucking nationwide. They had a 4-song EP that made them huge. I remember they were headlining over like Cattle Decapitation and the Locust and all of the other like weird scene death bands.
They were headlining
For 4 songs.
That's crazy.
Over 4 songs, they headlined.
Because I definitely saw the Locust.
Yeah, the
multiple
Locust
times.
opened. This is 2006. They fucking erupted. There's a venue called the Marquee in Colorado, and I saw them play this show there. And the whole thing with Job for a Cowboy is that they were a scene band transitioning into being a death metal band, but they did a lot of jokes. They did like sampling. It's why there are your Suicide Silences and stuff. Their whole thing was, after their first 4-song EP, they wanted to just be a death metal band. They wanted to be taken seriously. They wanted to be on like Ozfest and shit, but all of their fans were scene kids, and it really bummed them out. And I watched them come on to take the stage to the most sold out I've ever seen this venue. I have never seen a show like this. They took the stage and their singer pulled his knit cap off and just to start the show, there was nothing happening. He just went, "Hi, we're Job for a Cowboy." They went into that song. I've never seen this venue look like it was going to explode. There was like a balcony. People were overflowing this balcony to get into the pit. It looked like a weird fountain, but of human beings falling into a pit. It was nuts. Yeah. This band was huge, and it's like right after that, like that's when the Summer Slaughter tour started. Like they brought back like that big dying fetus like kind of death metal sound to stuff. Like they made the pig squeal a thing. Like they were them. That was them. I remember them specifically it being what bridged like scene kids to real metal music.
That's really interesting, but I think the main thing, I guess why that never happened to me is because I wasn't a scene kid. I was just...
You were not?
I was not. And my metal journey came more of a butt rock start of a 7-Eleven drinking in a parking lot type zone.
Yeah.
Like,
well, how do you get from Motley Crue and shit to Morbid Angel?
I think it was just I was just lucky that her squad, just like one of the dudes in there, like, you know, he was just like one of those like true blue 80s dudes, and he dropped it on her and she gave it to me, and we're just like, this rules. Like, I just lucked out, you know. I had a truly Morbid Angel of my own.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Also, if all that scene shit is not interesting, you can cut.
No, I know. I think it's very important because, you know, it's a beautiful story about the reconciliation because, you know, scene kids and death metal people, the civil war between them has been so bloody for so long.
I remember the Hairspray raids of 2006.
I think it's different than that. I think it's the scene kids and the death metal metal kids. It's more of a like when like my Jewish family during the Holocaust, like when we ran and hid in Spain, that's what happened to the scene kids. The scene kids.
And now they're all in Mexico, and that's why there's so many scene kids in Mexico now.
Right.
Oh my God.
No, but isn't that real?
That is real.
There's scene kids everywhere. Like anytime you're in St. Vitus, 30% of that audience used to be a scene kid.
That's so real.
And it's because of Job for a Cowboy. It's because of them and their and like weird joke ass Family Guy. Like,
this is so insane to me because like it is so rare in my life that there is a band in punk, hardcore, metal that I've never even heard the name of.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? It's like it's so rare that I hear somebody that I have never heard the name of that's like bigger than like a certain level. Right?
That's weird because Drew is also from both of your towns.
Yeah,
had this exact same experience as me. He remembers this. Yes, he remembers that we didn't love it, but we remembered the SpongeBob video. We remember that every one of our friends was super into like how hilarious the sample of Entombment of a Machine was, and we remember that as the pivotal moment where kids went from like liking like Converge and like Fear Before the March of Flames type shit and just started to go like, we like death metal now. We like they would, you know, that's where they got into just like big ear gauges and pig squeals.
So were they like at the beginning before they tried to become like an earnest death metal band, was Job for a Cowboy like they were primarily like a joke band, right?
Well, they were like they were scene kids who just they started as a joke and they were like a death metal band and then they got genuinely into death metal.
And the initial death metal songs are like kind of like joking on the genre. It's like kitschy, yeah. So like would you compare them to somebody like Shark Punch?
I'm going to be down honest with you. I don't know what Shark Punch is.
I'm shutting this conversation down.
I'm really... Yeah, no, this is going nowhere.
I'm shutting this down.
All right, so they're the first death metal band, or they're the first popular death metal band.
Yes.
And they're from Florida, and I've listened to Altars of Madness several times trying to really get what's special about them other than they're the first. the original stuff is what sounds like what all metal, like what my mom thinks that heavy metal sounds like.
Yeah.
Like
Those were
Altars
the
of
words
Madness.
that I was gripping for that whole bumblefuck I did before.
Yeah.
You can just edit out that whole thing I said.
Yeah.
Just replace it with my mom
Look,
going, "What is this? It's so loud."
Yeah. That's what. Here's the thing. Morbid Angel is what my mom thinks Kiss sounds like.
You know what it is? Morbid Angel and like this type of metal is like, you know how like when you have like a grape candy and you taste it and you're like, this is grape, but it doesn't taste like any grape you've ever actually encountered in your life, but you still recognize it as grape, and it's sort of like quintessential of grape as a concept. That's what Morbid Angel is to metal.
Yes. And I've been trying to figure out for a long time, like, here's the thing. I get what's special about Death, the band, not the concept. I also get what's special about Death, the thing that's going to happen to all of us.
I can't wait to sleep.
You only die once.
You only die once, and we don't know what it is. Probably it's like sleep. Isn't that scary? Death has like a lot of emotion and passion in the music. Like you can tell, like Chuck is screaming. It sounds like it hurts, and there's just, I don't know. There's a feeling to it. When I listen to Morbid Angel forever, I'm just like, these are just fucking dudes singing about trolls. I don't know.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that Morbid Angel sings about that isn't also sung in an Iron Maiden song. And I'd much rather go to the fucking opera and listen to an Iron Maiden song about Satan than listen to a guy going like, "Can you believe I'm friends with Satan?" And I'm like, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like they love like talking about Satan and talking about their morbid victories and shitting on the normals, but what happens when the morbid angels have to actually govern the people? Good.
Yeah.
Do the roads get paved?
Can we get into this album
Let's
a little
ask
bit?
Michael. I think we can.
Because Lucy's bringing up some great points.
The only thing I can figure out why people hate this album so much is because it's Morbid Angel's attempt at doing a mainstream album.
It's not even that. It's
No.
not even that.
I
think it's
you don't think that this is their attempt at a mainstream version of something?
I think it sort of is, but what I think where the animus comes from is that people don't like that this is a Morbid Angel album that is not just death metal. And I think that what I was thinking about this whole time listening to it is that it's indicative of a failure of the metal community that I think that we like that is not touched upon enough, even though it's like occasionally hinted at in like a joking sort of a way, is that metal fans don't like anything that changes. Metal fans always get mad at bands that change even a little bit. And this is a band that took a swing for it. Like there's definitely some places where this falls completely flat. I don't know, maybe like 40% of the time this just sounds like the music in a nightclub from Blade. Yeah. But like at least they're trying something,
Yeah.
And like I have a lot of respect for the fact that they gave this a fucking crack,
Yeah, I had a similar... oh my God, we're agreeing. Oh my God, this is happening.
It's happening.
It's the first time it's happening. It happened because I was listening to it. I was like, the narrative I've put together in my head for why they made this album is because they're like, all right, we've been a band for like fucking 20 years. The singer has quit 4 times or something and come back. And they were like, we've always sounded like Morbid Angel. I mean, here's the thing. I have not listened to every Morbid Angel album. I know Bless the Sick or whatever and Altars of Madness. That's all I know. And then I know this album now. So what I'm assuming happened is they were like, okay, we've broken up like 4 times, so we might as well try to make something that could be considered like a popular album. Like they wanted to do their breaking into the mainstream thing. And I think that this is 100% the most interesting way a metal band has ever taken elements of radio metal, of like popular metal, and applied it to a death metal band, to like a heavier metal band.
Yeah.
This is the most, because they're taking industrial metal, like Manson shit. They're taking Slipknot shit and putting it in, but it's still kind of fucking death metal. It's interesting. It's not just like hooks and catchiness the whole time.
Yeah.
They're really trying to make it work. They're trying to make themselves interested in it.
Yeah.
I
wrote down that it's like it reminded me a lot of like Rob Zombie if there wasn't a wink. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like how Rob Zombie songs all sort of have this like it's about Satan, but like also like movies, you know? Like it's about like Rob Zombie is like it's cute that I'm into like Satan and monsters and stuff. That's just who I am. This is like if Rob Zombie was just like I am Satan and monsters.
No, I don't agree with that.
I actually thought when the like some of the electronic stuff started happening that this sounded like a heavier MSI.
Yes.
And that's what my like angsty teenage anger wants. Like,
yeah. I agree that there is a wink in Rob Zombie, but this album isn't, even though it's trying very hard, it's not smart enough to be like an Astro Creep or a Rob Zombie thing. Like the wink is smart.
I guess I just mean that like it's trying to exist in the same space of music that is aggressive and angry and somewhat related to monsters and the devil, but also would be fully serviceable as like a video game backdrop song.
Totally.
You know, like I kept thinking during this that it sounds like it would be the background music of a Mario Kart game where instead of like Mario and Luigi, it's like Freddy Krueger and Jason.
Oh my god, I was thinking that this is like the background to like some shooter game or whatever. Especially the first track. I'm like, what is this?
Oh my god, yeah, it's Doom. This is the soundtrack to Doom.
Is exactly my thought. It was really intense, the video game feels this album was giving me.
I think it has a lot to do with. I remember because we watched the music video for this.
Yeah,
I was very surprised at what David Vincent looks like because I'm used to like the Morbid Angel picture. I knew my whole life was just like they just looked like a thrash band. David Vincent was a blonde guy with no facial hair, and when we watched this video and I looked at modern pictures of him, he's pale and dressing like a vampire. David Vincent now looks like if Patrick Warburton was playing Morbius in Spider-Man. Do you know what I'm talking about?
He looks like he just looks like Dave Navarro.
He does.
He looks unironically like Dave Navarro, except like he more than Dave Navarro looks like a crow will be on his shoulder at a given time.
Yeah, it doesn't even. He looks like Dave Navarro's father. There's something so off about it because he's like a little too old. He like it really looks like a hello fellow kids. Like he looks like he looks like the dad from Rocket Power if Rocket Power was about a bunch of goths. You know what I mean?
What do they do instead of skateboard?
Hang out and
lie about
graveyard.
Smoking. I don't know.
Yeah, they just hang out in graveyards.
Smoke cloves.
There's no graveyards near that boardwalk.
Sick, Spinner. You're so good at hanging out in graveyards.
I don't know. They're all listening to Job for a Cowboy.
Oh, God. This can't be a whole episode about Job for a Cowboy.
No, it can't. I'm sorry. But no, okay, he looks like a fucking vampire. Like, I'm gonna start off and say, I don't fucking hate this album.
I don't hate it at all. I actually really like it.
I liked it a lot.
You guys liked it a lot?
I'm like most of the way there.
Yeah. This is one of the few albums that we've listened to that I've actually I listened to the whole way through without really paying attention to time going by. You know.
You're right. I was the first album that we've listened to. This was the easiest album to listen to. It was the first time I looked at the amount of tracks that were left and was not disappointed. Right. It's the first time I looked and I was like, oh, there are 2 left. We made it.
Yeah, and looking at the track listing initially, I saw there's 3 or 4 different 7 or 8 minute songs, and immediately I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fucking chore. But I didn't even end up feeling that way by the end.
Yeah.
I'm not as psyched about it as you guys are, but I will say I definitely feel like it was way more listenable than anything we listened to. And probably the most hated tracks I probably liked the most on this album.
Well, which ones do you like the most?
Let's see.
In terms of just
I gotta pull this up.
Because it seems like this is split it's like a Harvey Dent thing, right? Where it's like there's the metal side and then there's like this industrial side, and like the metal songs are definitely like pretty fucking okay. But I ended up finding myself liking the industrial side
That's
more.
what I'm saying. My spooky, like, Marilyn Manson-filled heart was just like, yeah, more of this shit.
Well, I thought they did the industrial shit. Like, I was ready to hate it because the album starts with that fucking trumpet shit,
Which
and
is
it's
awful.
just like it's awful. The second that started, I was like, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be a whole. It
was very much-
remember how much I was dreading listening to the rest of it.
It felt like a theme, like the song you play when everyone's putting on their costume for the vampire LARP.
It was.
It sounds like the song that you hear when you first walk into Jekyll and Hyde and you're going up the elevator. You're about to see some spooky things, Jill.
I wonder how many more times we'll reference Jekyll and Hyde on this podcast.
Multiple.
Have you referenced the restaurant before?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
referenced it for one of the Misfits albums.
Is it even still there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We should do a trip.
It's very
Let's record a
expensive. and
podcast from Jekyll and Hyde.
It's very expensive.
Then we're not doing it. We don't have the money. But no, okay. So it starts off. I thought it was going to be bad because it sounds exactly like when I was like trying to get into like film composing for a little while with Logic.
Yep.
And the first time I was like, maybe I should put some brass on this song. And then I did the synth brass and I was like, no, thank you. No, ma'am.
It sounds like they wrote this out with the idea in mind of hiring out a couple of string players and horn players to then like actually record it.
Yeah.
And then they just like ran out of time and had to put it out.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised that like the industrial stuff minus like some drum choices. Like the drums are a problem on this album when they're not played by a human being, but the guitar choices are super interesting for the riffs. I think the riffs in this album are weird in a good way.
I want to disagree with you on the drum thing. I actually think that the drums are better when a human's not playing, and I think they're worse when the human is playing. I think that the tone of that drum that they play, like you can hear it in that intro actually. It sounds like he's like playing with one of those like brush sticks, but that it's like twice as long as the standard brush stick, and so it's like dragging a little bit too much, and it just like it just kind of sounds like sluggish and like weird. And the electric drums, man, I'm fucking walking over here from my apartment to come record, listening to this album, like I'm fucking dancing, man.
That is true.
I'm
definitely
bopping.
I definitely
You were
want.
dancing to the fucking like Kill a Cop song.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, this is some.
Those beginning drums that just sound like cartoon ants. Really?
Yeah.
You guys remember that viral video of that Viking guy at a rave? I just like that's what this is. It's like, the spooky unce music. I'm not against it. I'm not necessarily dancing to it, Jeremy. I've not seen you dance. I don't think you're probably good at it.
It's like a low key dance. I'm not making a show of it.
Yeah.
I'm not
But I
going out like getting in
appreciate
people's face. But
this-
a
it's
little bit.
interesting to me, Jordan, as such a guitar boy, that you say these guitar riffs are good, because I think they're fine, but I in their earlier albums, I feel like there was more oscillation and more just like they did more stuff with the guitars, and I felt like this was like a little repetitive and at times like just monotonous.
I think I was more surprised. I think that on some of the industrial songs, like it's a lot of just like the guitar chords and stuff are just like bending and disappearing from the song. Like the riff is just like the guitar just like exploding. It's not just like a technical riff the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised by, and I was like, that's a good odd choice. That's some shit that I like about. It reminded me of like some old White Zombie shit, which is what I like. I love when you just like get the White Zombie riff where it's just like he's playing a high chord, but it sounds like a motorcycle or whatever. And there's one song on this. I forget the name because I forgot all the names, but there's one song like 10 More Dead or something, or where it just sounds like one of the riffs. It just sounds like a guy throwing motorcycles off a cliff.
Yeah, I thought that song was pretty fun.
I thought that was there's a lot of shit like that. Like all of the riffs I found very unexpected in a good way. Like I didn't think that you were gonna go this route. I think it was it sounds like a mashup of like a riff I would expect. It always was about to be a riff that I was going to be bored with, but it surprised me with where it was going to go. So I'm giving this album a lot of points for I'm surprised at how hard they're trying.
Yeah,
This is definitely an album that is trying harder than any other thing we've ever listened to be good.
I mean, I was surprised by how much I connected to this album. Like, I feel like fundamentally, even though it's like, I wouldn't put it on a level with this, like, I think fundamentally, like, I like this album and I like this band for the same reason I like Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash.
Oh my God.
Which is that, like, it's a reckoning with mortality that seems genuine. And has some punchy lyrics along the way.
What spoke to you the most lyrically? Like, if you can...
Oh, man.
It's hard for me to remember any lyrics except Kill a Cop, so, don't let me
Kill a
put you
Cop.
on a
Well, there's
spot.
the
I
one
think
that sounds
10
like,
Bodies More or what was it called? 10 Bodies More?
10 Bodies
Yeah.
More.
Yeah. I like that song. I like the lyrics to that
There's
song.
the one that sounds like he's calling out to the great fluffy dragon from the Never-Ending Story, Falcor.
Oh, yeah. I was like, is he screaming Falcor? And then and then he preaches, glory, 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 glory
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, like
He's
there
doing
were
all
weird like understatements. Like when he was like, what was that lyric? That was like, "This is not so fun." Like it was like I was like, oh, I didn't expect to hear something that like wasn't about Satan. That was just like,
Right.
you're a little bummed.
I'm not having fun. Oh, are you not? Oh, I think that happened actually at a part where I was like, all right, I'm not having fun anymore. And he's like, neither am I. And I'm like, oh, great. But
Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff, like, lyrically that I think is very cheesy.
of course, the
But
lyrics
it's
are
like-
ridiculous.
And like, I read a lot of reviews for this record.
Did you?
I did, yeah, because I was trying to figure out after my first listen through, I had the same reaction where I'm like, I don't really totally understand why this album is so
Hated.
reviled, you know? And
Like
and
on just at least like on the level because people are we did Saint Anger and people were like this one now.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not Saint
this
Anger.
is not Saint Anger.
This is not misguided in that way.
Yeah.
It's a little misguided, but they are trying.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers are trying their vampire-y best.
So the things that
Leave Morbid Angel alone.
Leave them alone. I'm the fucking Chris Crocker of Morbid Angel.
The things that keep popping up in these reviews, though, the things that seem to be pretty consistent across the bad ones are it's a failed experiment where they tried to do this thing and it didn't work, right? They say it's like generic sounding industrial. And then the other thing I keep hearing is that the lyrics are too cheesy, which is insane to me because it's death metal.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's cheesy in the wrong way. I get kind of where they're coming from in that because like Valcor Glory is awkward. It's awkward cheesy.
Yeah.
There's a difference between death metal that's like really that's like a little like goofy and on purpose silly. Like they know when a band is trying to be silly and I think that's why I don't connect to this band.
Yeah.
It's because they don't think they're very silly.
I'm okay with them bands taking themselves too seriously lyrically and metal, but like, I'm all here for like lyrics about lightning and witches and whatever the fuck, but there's something about how they physically, I think you picked up on this, strung the words around that were so clunky
Yeah.
that it didn't even like fit the rhythm of some of the songs.
I think that's why I was like, this is their attempt at poppiness, because he's screaming in a way that you can understand the words, which is insane.
Yeah, I don't need to be hearing that.
Like I don't want to know what the words are.
You need to sound just like a gargling white noise machine to me, young man.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. There's like a difference between like a Cannibal Corpse cheesy, where it's like he's describing something that's so vile and beyond that it's hilarious. It's like there's a difference between like watching like The Evil Dead and watching like Rock and Roll Nightmare, because one is a little more earnest than the other. They're both goofy, but one knows what it's doing and one kind of doesn't. Yeah, and Morbid Angel is a little unaware of how stupid as fuck they are.
It's like Plan 9 from Outer Space versus like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Kind of, yeah. I think that's what we're dealing with is they were trying to take it seriously. Like, they wanted to be... This is Morbid Angel, like, we want to be the headlining band at Mayhem Festival. R.I.P. Because it's 2011. Like, they want to be... I think that this is the band that... They've wanted to be a popular band for a long time. Because one of their first biggest tours is they got brought on tour with like Motorhead and shit. Like Motorhead is just one of the most famous bands ever. And most bands that sound like Morbid Angel, it did, at least the way they did in the 90s, they don't get to fucking see that kind of fame or whatever. So I think that this is their attempt at being like, we want to be a Slipknot, where it's like I think that this is really what it is they don't want to lose their old fans. So they're remaining very death metal-y. I think that, but they also want to be able to cross over and have some Slipknot popularity. I'm fascinated with it.
I'm going to take on the counterpoint to that, which is that I don't think that this was meant to be a mainstream success at all. I think that this was the opposite of that. I think this was them just doing the thing that they really wanted to do. And I think that the evidence I have for that is the music video. When you watch the music video, what do you see? You see this like fuzzy black and white image with all this like old school silent film era imagery, right? And you got your singer in like dark eye makeup and a fucking top hat. You know, that is a dude who has recently gotten very into goth. And this is them embracing this new direction of theirs because also you got to remember, this is 2011. This isn't 2001. If this was like 2001, then yeah, maybe they're trying to ride that Slipknot, Marilyn Manson era wave. This is so far removed from that this can only be a genuine attempt at being spooky.
No, well, number one, this is not the lead singer's band. The person whose band this is the guitarist, who you don't even see in that music video because his hair is in the way. The guitarist, I think that this is the band appeasing the singer, because this is the singer's last album. And then he goes into his country after this. I'm not kidding. David Vincent goes to be a country artist after this.
What?
Yes.
What? Lucy was right.
I don't know. You were right.
Yeah.
And that man became Johnny Cash.
This is what the singer wants to do. He's quit 1,000 times. He doesn't want to be in a death metal. He wants to be in a popular band. The fucking guitarist doesn't want to. This is why I will say one thing. I like some of the riffs on this album. Every guitar solo is motherfucking terrible.
They're pretty whack.
The guitar solos are nonsense. He doesn't give a shit.
Isn't the main guitarist in this band not even on this album?
No, he is. He's the only guy who's still in this band.
The drummer isn't really on this album.
Okay.
The drummer, this is the first album without their famous drummer.
Ooh, what if that's what it is? What if that's what caused this pivot to the industrial sound, is that they didn't have the drummer, and they were like, what's the most convenient way to make an album without our drummer? Drum machine.
This is nothing. This is everything you've come up with is nothing.
I don't think that's that insane of a jump.
No, why do you think they fucking sound like a vampire band? It's because it's probably the guy that looks like a vampire wants them to sound like a vampire band.
Which was my other point.
No,
that was my first point.
No, it's not his band. They're trying to make that guy happy. Everybody else in that music video is playing, like, the fucking other guitarist is playing a Dimebag Darrell Razor new guitar, and the video is supposed to be from 1920.
Okay,
the
so
rest
what
of
if
the band doesn't give a shit about this sound?
What if Vampire Man is pulling like a Littlefinger, where he's like the drummer? Because what was it? The drummer like injured himself or something like that. It wasn't even
injured.
that he quit the band. He just like couldn't be.
Oh
there
yeah,
for
this Wikipedia, he was just injured.
Yeah, he was injured. So okay, so I'm Vampire
He has
Man.
progeria. Do you feel good now?
And you're like,
I feel great because I don't have progeria.
now's my time to shine.
Yeah, exactly. He sees that the drummer is injured. They have a record due, and he says, chaos is a ladder. And he sees this opportunity, and he says, I'm buying a drum machine. We're making an industrial album. I love crows, and I love skulls, and this is what we're doing.
This is like, who's the guy who wrote Lost? That is the Damon Lindelof version of fucking Morbid Angel. All right, guys, we're introducing a new segment to the podcast called Metal Mansplaining. Lucy is going to ask our male listeners, only the male listeners, to explain just basic questions that she has about metal culture. Please tweet at the 2 Minutes to Late Night Twitter or comment on our Instagram if you have an answer to Lucy Steiner's question. Lucy, go for it.
Use hashtag Metal Mansplain.
Hashtag Metal Mansplain.
Hi, metal fans. I'm Lucy Steiner. And I want to know, what's the difference between death metal and black metal? Thank you.
Maybe before we put it out to the public, Lucy, with nothing currently in your resources to answer this question, how would you answer that question if somebody asked you and you were gun to your head, had to answer?
So I think maybe death metal is more like spooky Vincent Price type stuff. And black metal is more like, we're going to kill you for real.
All right, favorite songs. Jeremy?
I'm going to go with Blades for Baal.
Woot!
Ball. How do you, I don't know what that word is. I assume it's some sort of Scandinavian language.
Oh, it's Scandinavian for bowl.
I like that one though. It fucking it's pretty good. It's pretty aggressive. It's pretty shreddy. It's not bad, man. I like that whole first third of the album, really, from the intro up through Blades for Balls. I like
Blades for Balls.
I like that whole segment of the album.
The male
a lot.
castration song, yeah.
And I think that if they used real horns and strings on that intro, then this whole first quarter of the album or third of the album would have been fucking bananas good.
That good?
Yeah, honestly. And wrote better lyrics.
Yeah.
Maybe about something.
Yeah. that would help. Katie?
What was the name of the first Thumpy one? Was that...
Oh, We Are Extreme or whatever?
Yeah, that ruled.
Too extreme.
It was fucking dumb as hell. I loved it. I loved that dumb shit, and I loved 10 More Dead.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of those songs that would be in the background of a supercut of Greek anarchists throwing Molotov cocktails at cops.
Yeah, or like you said, just some 90s Matrix knockoff nightclub scene. I was into it. Fuck yeah.
I think my favorite song, I like 10 More Dead a lot too, but I think my favorite song was I Am Morbid.
Yeah, that did have the most chorus you could chant.
Yeah.
Get real behind that.
Yeah. It was just so easy.
Yeah.
I also love
Sorted.
I love a song that brands the band. They're just reminding you.
Yeah.
I am morbid.
I'm morbid.
Yeah. It's the anthemic one. It's the dancing on my own of this masterpiece. Okay, I think my favorite was Radical.
Yeah, that's the other one that's I am morbid.
Kill a Cop. What? Here's the thing.
Did rule.
The whole time I was like, this is I hated part of the drum intro, but I was on board for that weird shit that I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to hear that type of a song on this album and not completely hate it, so I'm on that train. Also, when I listened to this album on YouTube at work, so when I started to play the album, I saw people writing Kill a Cop or whatever and all this stuff. I was like, these fans rule. And also, I thought for a second, I was like, because someone mentioned Ice-T, I was like, is Ice-T going to be on this motherfucking record?
Oh, how cool.
I went through the I went through the whole record thinking there was a chance there was going to be Icy, so I was a little bummed out. I was a little bummed out by the end of it, but boy, oh boy, do I want an industrial Morbid Angel song with Ice-T on it.
Damn it.
I want that,
That
so
would
badly.
fucking
Give me that
rule.
trash, and then hit me with a monster truck. Let's fucking do this.
Here's a question, because we haven't done it in a little while, but does this unseat anything for anybody?
Yeah, this is my number one now.
This is your number one now?
Yeah, this is my number one too.
This is mine, too.
Me as well.
Oh, fuck!
Oh!
Whoa!
Yeah, no, top. What are? Yeah, let's do our orders.
Nobody would have thought coming into this. Like, just based on the fact that every single one that we've done, somebody has commented, do Illud
Yeah.
Anus, whatever. Like, nobody thought this was going to be everybody's number one by the end of this.
I know.
Wow.
Goodbye, listeners. Sorry.
It has
Sorry.
been fun doing this podcast. See you never.
Yeah, look, maybe if we started with this album, we'd feel differently. But because we have listened to music that was so shockingly music, you know, maybe this is what's really changed.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I hope this isn't like a reflection on just like we've been listening to so much bad music that
It might
we're
be.
changing.
I feel like Van Halen 3 changed me for the worse.
I know.
I felt like damaged after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
After Van Halen 3, that's the worst thing we've listened to.
It was the worst.
I forgot. It was so bad I forgot about it, and I thought Pantera Metal Magic was the worst thing we ever listened to. It was Van Halen 3. That is a bad memory. That is like the worst thing you did in high school that you forgot about, and then you remember it
Oh, yeah.
late at night. That is a 1 a.m. Oh my God, I did that.
I still think my bottom is still Super Collider.
That's your
Yeah,
bottom.
it's my bottom one. I just like
That's a screensaver of an album.
it is, and that's the problem, right? Is that it's a screensaver of an album that he thought was gonna be a sing it at football games of an album. You know, he thought those songs were gonna pop, and they're so boring, and like. It's just got that stink of desperation on it that I really just can't get past.
Also, I really liked on this album, Destructos versus the Earth. That was like that weird Misfits song. That was so fucking weird
Yeah.
and stupid. I loved it. It was, what the fuck?
I listened to this album
We're
four
killing
times
Earth.
through,
Jesus.
and each time my opinion of Destructo switched.
Really?
Yeah, first time through, I was like, this song kind of is pretty fucking cool. And then second time, I was like, man, fuck this song. And then third time, I was like, it's actually pretty cool.
What'd you think, Katie?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
No strong opinions about that one. Sorry, guys.
It sounded like a Flight of the Conchord song that was like metal. Like it reminded me of just like the humans are dead, the humans are dead, which I liked.
Now I like it.
Yeah, see, yeah.
You convinced me.
All right, that's it for the Iliad and the Odyssey, or whatever that album is called.
Anus.
Anus. It's just
The Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Anus.
all right. Plugs, Lucy.
You can find me at the Steinbag on Twitter, and you can also see me around picking my toes.
You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Thunder, and you can check out my other podcast, Ballin' Out Super. And our Patreon series, Ballin' Out Good Times.
Good times. Hi, you can find me on Twitter at Katie Rose, on Instagram at Hello Katie Rose. Thank you to the person that sent me $20 on my Venmo.
You were gonna get fucking stalked.
I'm already stocked, so I might as well be making money.
Also, is it called Good Times because you're doing GT?
Yep.
Yes.
That's cute. Good job, you guys.
There was initially we were thinking like, what if every time it was like a different thing that GT could stand for, but
No.
then immediately we were like, no, it's just Good Times every time because who
That's
wants
a
to try
lot.
to think of a thing every time?
Yeah, don't do that to yourselves. Have a good time. All right, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Jordan Olds, and also you can follow my dog on Instagram at Great Hambino. Ham is in the meat, bean is in what a bean is. Also, please show up this Saturday at St. Vitus at 2 p.m. for our first video recording of the podcast. We have a special guest with us, Rob Posbani. We're going to be reviewing Lulu from Metallica. That sounds like the weirdest thing. I still don't believe it's real. And yeah, please show up. It's going to be really fun. Please, if you're also going to listen to that album for some fucking reason, I don't know why you do that to yourselves, but if you're going to do it, please bring questions. We're going to do a Q&A segment. Please also show up drunk if you want, because it's Saturday. You can and you can live like a dirt person if you want to.
And like fucking why not at this point?
Fucking why not? I don't know.
Like,
be drunk when you can. The world's weird.
Look at the world.
Look at the world.
Look at the world. Get drunk at 2. Kill a cop. You know?
Kill a cop and dance about it.
Fucking
David Vincent.
Glory to Hamas.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, please follow David Vincent on Instagram and go see whatever weird off-the-strip Vegas show he's probably doing since leaving this band. All right, please pick Lucy's toes. Goodbye, everybody.